Trey Ratcliff here. I have received a bunch of questions here in email from Nick Software, and I thought I'd take this strange opportunity to answer them on video rather than email. I always do email interviews where I type in my answers, and that could be a little boring to read, so maybe I'll just, answer out loud here. So I'm in a taxi driving in the Hunan province of China in the middle of a 5-hour drive from Zhangjiajie to Fenghuan City. And here's my driver up here. Hello. Hello, Mr. Ching, how are you? Life is good? Okay, good. Mr. Ching does not speak a lick of English, so I hope he knows where we're going. He seems competent so far in a non-communicative type way. They spit out the window all the time here too, without any regard. That's okay. All is okay, Mr. Ching. I'm just talking to myself. So anyway, Nick Software sent me 17 questions here, a prime number. I always get prime numbers of questions. I don't know why, but they usually turn out pretty well. You'll have to excuse all the honking and everything. We go through little villages from time to time, and there's just dump trucks everywhere. You can see maybe out the window what's going on. On occasion, maybe you get tired of looking at me. I'll kind of look out the window while I'm answering questions. This is not really what I would call a beautiful part of the Hunan province. Gosh, I wish I could show you what's going out the front of the window. Maybe I will later. I don't want to make Mr. Ching nervous in this situation. Alright, so question 1 is, how and when did you get your start in photography? Well, this is an interesting answer for those of you that haven't heard it, and I think it will be really encouraging to new photographers. Basically, I'm 39 now. I got my start really when I was about 34 or 35. That's when I got my first DSLR, and I didn't really do any photography at all before then. I had some sort of consumer point-and-shoot type cameras, and I don't really know why or how I've taken to it so quickly. I think, well, there's a lot of reasons. I think one might be because I'm blind in one eye. I've grown up really just seeing out of one eye. So in a sense, I've always kind of looked through a lens. So I've taken to it very naturally. I've always been able to easily compose things without even having to think about it. So photography just seemed like a very natural thing to me. And then over the past 5 years or so, I've just really obviously kind of gone crazy with it, and I enjoy it. I've gotten a lot of feedback. I've made a ton of mistakes and tried to correct on the mistakes as quickly as possible and iterate on this stuff so I can get better faster. So anyway, I hope that's encouraging to all new photographers. And in fact, I keep all my old stuff up from 5 years ago so you can look back and see how awful I was. And maybe that'll give people hope that they can make quick progress as well. Okay, question 2. How did your photography evolve into what you shoot and the type of images you make today? Well, I think I got right into HDR photography because I've always liked landscapes, and some of the first photos I took were of landscapes. And I looked at the results, and they were just awful. They were just boring and flat and plain and not interesting. So I started looking into algorithms that might make that look better, and I stumbled into HDR, and I just loved it so much that I decided to stick with it and improve upon it. So there's sort of a self-feeding cycle of HDR and landscape photography. That's kind of how I ended up in this niche. Although obviously I like all kinds of other photography too. Okay, question 3. Have you always been interested in HDR imagery, and did that start with film and the zone system, or did it evolve with digital technology? Well, I've always been digital. I've never been into film. I understand the zone system. I've never used it. In fact, I've never read a book on photography or took a class in photography, and I don't really know the way photography is taught, frankly. I kind of came at it on my own, and I learned what all these settings were on my camera by myself, ISO and f-stop. And in fact, I had my own system for it because I didn't really know the proper name for any of this stuff. I would just look at the numbers and kind of taught myself through massive experimentation, through a lot of failure. And I think, in a sense, because I came at photography in such a roundabout way, and I didn't learn about it the way other people learned about it, my stuff ended up a little bit unique. Because there is something to the idea of groupthink, you know, in the sense that if you stay in circles where you're always hearing the same kind of thing over and over again, you can't help but end up thinking like all these other people and taking photos like all these other people. That's not good or bad. I'm not saying that my way is better, it's just different. And I do reflect on it from time to time. Question 4. How do you choose your subjects? By the way, this taxi has the worst shock absorbers. I feel like I am riding over the speed bumps on a BMX. So anyway, how do you choose your subjects? Well, I'm very kind of free-spirited. As I move around, if I see something interesting, I just take a photo. I try to put myself into situations in which there are a lot of interesting subjects, a lot of good subject matter that I can potentially find interesting. But otherwise, I just kind of roam around aimlessly and kind of go wherever my spirit and the winds take me. And some days I come up dry with nothing, and other days they end up really good. So I don't know if that's the best answer. I'm sure you're looking for something for you to hang your hat on, but this is just kind of how I choose. I don't choose. I just kind of go with the flow and start by introducing myself into a situation that has potentially really good shots in it. Question 5. Do you approach your photography differently if you plan on using HDR for an image? No, not at all. I just take pictures of what is interesting to me, whether it's people, architecture, landscapes, animals, whatever. If I think it's interesting, I shoot it. And if it turns out that situation has a lot of dynamic light in it, yes, I will use HDR. But that's not always the case. In a lot of cases, you just don't have that much range of light in the shot, so there's no need to use HDR. Question 6. Where do you find the most success with HDR? The least? Well, the most success is in extreme light situations and in landscapes. And these are, I'm very sensitive now to how many stops of light are in my immediate vicinity, and I just know whether it's a good HDR subject or not. And I think anyone can come to know this with time and experience. And the least is, of course, shooting people. I rarely, if ever, HDR people, or at least I don't HDR their skin, because they end up looking, like coal miners, or like Chinese coal miners. Question 7. Oh, this is a long one. Okay. Traveling all over the world clearly comes with some constraints, hence the title of your website. So have you pared down your equipment to the bare essentials, or do you find that you still travel with everything your heart desires, or would you ever want to? Well, I don't travel with too much. I travel with 2 professional cameras, because if one breaks and I'm out in the wild, I really need a backup. So I have a D3X and a D3S. It turns out that I end up using both quite a lot because I keep sort of a people close-up kind of prime lens on my D3S, and my D3X has all my landscape lenses. I really don't travel with many lenses at all. I have a 14-24 and a 28-70, and that pretty much does the trick for most landscape photography because you get wide-angle stuff. I could take a bigger lens like a 70-200 or even a bigger one, but I don't do that much heavy zoom landscape photography. Sometimes I do, but it's just not worth all the extra weight. I take a 50 prime and sometimes an 85 prime. So that's not bad, right? That's 4 lenses and 2 camera bodies. And then there's a lot of other miscellaneous stuff that it goes with too, right? Like little cleaners, and that's not that heavy. And then I also take a tripod with me. I use a Really Right Stuff tripod and a Really Right Stuff tripod head. And of course that thing's big and bulky, but you know, you got to have a tripod if you're doing landscape photography, especially in the morning and at night. And that's my favorite time.
Well, I checked the audio quality before, and I realized that it wasn't so great. Sorry about that. But anyway, I'll answer the rest of the questions from here, where I hope it's a little bit better. I'm now a few cities beyond where I was going to before. I'm in a place called Yangshao in Guilin, and it's down by the Li River. Very beautiful place. It's a small town. And I'm in this sort of little cafe now, and it's kind of neat because what they've done is they've taken all these books, and all these English books actually, and they line up all the walls with them, and you can come trade 2 books for 1. By the way, that's my assistant here. His name is Jack. He's playing Angry Birds. That's keeping him entertained. Are you having fun with Angry Birds, Jack?
Yeah, very funny.
Yeah, he's easy to entertain. So, yeah, so this place is pretty cool. This Australian guy came in with a book, and he asked the little Chinese lady that owns it. He had 1 book, and he wanted to trade it for another book. And she said, "No, 2 books for 1 book." And he was like, all right. He kind of ran away with his tail between his legs. But anyway, I'll answer the rest of the questions now. Let me see. I think we left off at number 8. Okay, it says, you have some images in some sacred places, and with HDR, I'm assuming you always have a tripod. Do you get specific permissions to work in certain places, or have you always been able to get anywhere you want to go and get the images you want? Well, I get...